Wonderful, you found me for another day of Bhagavad Gita Sadhana. I'm Atmadarshan or Laura, whichever you prefer. I respond to both of those and also to um, person invited over for dinner. And you can use any generic term, but anytime you want to offer me food, I'll respond to that. Also, I haven't had breakfast yet. It shows. Well, I hope you're doing well as we continue our exploration into Samatvam in the Bhagavad Gita. And we've been exploring opposites for this past bit. Opposites that the world throws at us in an attempt to see, will we remain true to ourselves no matter what? Because that is the ultimate goal of many spiritual traditions, is to discover your true self and to rest in it. And this is the case. Arjun is seeking what he really is meant to do and be in this embodiment, and his best friend, cousin, and spiritual advisor, Krishna, is helping. Oh, it's windy today. There are still a bunch of acorns falling from that mighty oak tree. I cannot believe it. After weeks, there's still a whole bunch. Fortunately, it seems to have stopped now. Might see one bounce up and hit me in the head. Hopefully not. But actually, I'm dedicating today's practice to that oak tree and to a verse that describes what some people will see as an opposite, but the Gita is saying is really not one. And we can recognize that and learn how to be ourselves. And we are going to be in verse 13, chapter 13, verse 5. So 15. Chapter 13, verse 15. 13.15. Okay. And I'll read it, I'll chant it. You can listen. If you have any of your Song of the Soul books, you can chant along because it's the translation that's in all three of them. All right, I'll begin. Listen or join in as you wish. Krishna is saying, the source of all sense qualities, it is yet freed from the senses, unattached yet sustaining all, beyond yet enjoying nature. Sorry, there are three little comparisons here in this verse. Source of sense qualities yet freed from them, unattached yet sustaining all, and beyond yet enjoying nature. And I'm focusing on the third one. Unattached yet sustaining all. Because many of us may have been raised to consider this, or may just feel it as a matter of course of our experience with the material world, is that to sustain something, we have to be attached to it. So, for example, with children, in order to really give my children what they need, nature helps us form really strong attachments to them. Yeah. Uh, it's biological, it's biochemical, it's neurological. Some would say spiritual as well. We become very attached when we have children, and that can include furry little children, pets. Yet, what this is saying is you do not have to be attached to sustain something. In fact, it may be better to not be attached. So, for example, if I'm overly attached to a child, and maybe not a biological one, but a niece or nephew, for example, a godchild, and you're so attached to them that you really want them to be attached to you also. You want them to love you back, to want to spend time with you, that you might not do what's necessary to sustain them because you're more worried about their positive feelings. Okay? You might give in on an important boundary. You might allow them to engage in behavior you know could be dangerous or unhealthy just because you want them to feel really attached to you like you feel attached to them. Okay. But this is just an example. There is no judgment related to this. It's simply an example of how we can be attached to something in a non sustaining way. And Krishna says, well, look at the other way. Unattached, you can be sustaining. And I mentioned that lovely oak tree, and I think you can probably hear there are still acorns falling this morning. Thank you, wind and squirrels. That oak tree is producing literally thousands of acorns this year due to the weather conditions. And people hypothesize as to why. You know, why. But it's just letting go of its acorns. It's made a ton of them. And an oak tree doesn't go, now I better take my acorns to the acorn bank and watch them grow and hoard them to myself because I might need them someday. It's all about, I've made these acorns, I'm dropping them, and that's it. I'm going to sleep for the winter. Yet, through this non attachment, it is sustaining countless creatures. It is sustaining the squirrels. It is sustaining the chipmunks. It is sustaining the deer. It is sustaining the forest by giving more little oak trees a chance to grow. It is sustaining anything that can use those acorns for its own growth and survival with complete non-attachment. So today I invite you to contemplate, can you sustain without attachment? And maybe it's too hard to go to your child, your pet, and go, well, now I'm just going to pretend I'm not attached to you at all. But as you move about in the world, people you don't know, animals you don't know, plants you don't know, or even plants you do, can you be unattached yet sustain them? I had to do that yesterday. It's getting to the point where I think I told you the mums have to be planted, and one was. But in order for that to happen, I like to let my plants just die on their own and then, you know, get rid of the carcasses. But in order for that one mum to survive, I actually had, it was on death's door, these petunias, right? They were on death's door, but I still had to terminate them before they were completely gone. So I had to be unattached to petunias who were dying to save a mum and sustain it. So can you kind of bring this attitude of being a gardener to the world where, a gardener just does their best, but ultimately it's up to the things that are gardened. And we can see that in our world. We do our best, and then it's up to, like, we can make thousands of acorns, but it's up to the squirrels to find them, and they do. It's up to the deer to find them, and they do. And it's, it's up to the acorns themselves to take root in the soil and do what they're meant to do. And find out. I think the leaf vacuum's coming again. Yay. I'm attached to the leaf vacuum this time of year. Let's practice. Maybe you can consider sustaining somehow, some way, somebody through your practice. Switch sides. turn comes soon. All right. Time for contemplation. Can you create a feeling of sustaining something, someone without attachment? Maybe even to yourself, because this body is going to go away at some point. So, can you look at sustaining it without being attached to it, lasting forever? Let's find out. 5 minutes already. Thank you, Oak Tree. Thank you for being here. May this sustain you, although I am not attached to the outcome. This is out there for the world to use or not use. And perhaps I'll see you tomorrow. It's going to be Pi Day, day 314 of the sadhana. So until then, Pi.